Hi class, welcome to week 11 of BUAD 201. This week we're going to have a little bit more of a kind of a lighter content week. I want to give you guys some time to catch up on a few things and really read through chapter 12 and 13 because chapter 13 is going to be based on your on one of your next assignments. So during week 11 we're going to take a look into chapters 12 and 13. Just please be sure to review both chapters on your own as they will prep you for the executive summary assignment, which we're going to go over next week as well. So keep that in mind. So chapter 13, we're going to look into writing an executive summary. And then next week, we're going to go ahead and go over what the assignment actually is. So for your tasks to complete this week, just watch this weekly class video lecture, read chapter 12 and 13 in your textbook, and complete your chapter 12 and 13 mind tap homework. And then, of course, if possible, meet with your groups. Definitely work on your group project. So let's go ahead and take a look at the syllabus. I'd like to go over what we're going to be discussing. Whoops, excuse me. Didn't mean to zoom that much. I want to go over what we're going to be discussing over the next few days. So right now we're looking at week 11, which is chapter 12 and 13. And 13 discusses your executive summary review assignment. So next week we're going to actually go over your assignment that you're going to need to complete, but chapter 13 will prep you on it. So this week we're only going to go over chapters 12 and 13, and then next week I'll introduce you to the executive summary review, which is going to be due on November 26th. So let's go ahead and take a look at chapter 12 for this week. So chapter 12, I picked out some good points from the chapter that I think you guys can have a really good idea about. And the first part talks about writing short informational reports. So a lot of times in business writing, you need to understand how to write a report. And informational reports often describe periodic, maybe reoccurring activities, such as a monthly sales or weekly customer calls, as well as situational non-reoccurring events, such as maybe trips, conferences, progress on special reports. Like when I was a marketing manager for a .com, every month I would have to create a short informational report discussing where we spent our marketing dollars on. You can expect to write many informational reports as an entry level or middle management employee because these are things that they're not really too difficult to do. It just takes a lot of time to do it. And you'll see that with your executive summary assignment as well too. And because these reports generally deliver non-sensitive data and therefore will not upset the reader, they are organized directly. So you write these messages in a direct sense, which is what you're going to be doing with your executive summary as well. So take a look at figure 12.10 in your textbook, and these are the top 10 tips for designing better documents. Make sure to go over each one of these 10 in detail and have a good understanding. So for example, your first one, analyze your audience. Understanding who your audience is going to be whenever you're writing a report is extremely important. Because if you're writing a report for a client, it's going to be a little bit different than if you write a report for a CEO of a company, or maybe your direct supervisor, or a coworker, or for the HR department. So analyzing your audience will really help you understand what you need to write, because it's going to give readers what they need. It avoids flashiness in traditional documents. You use headings and lists to suit a busy audience. So keep that in mind. Make sure to go over all 10 of these and have a good understanding of all 10. Summaries. A summary compresses the main points from a book, report, article, website, meeting, or a convention. A summary saves time by reducing a report or article by 85 to 95%. A lot of times people are just going to want to read a summary regarding a report to see, okay, what happened in the report, what were the results, because that's all I really care about for my position. So summaries are extremely important, and you'll see why executive summaries are just as important. Students may be asked to write summaries of articles, chapters, or books to sharpen their writing skills and to confirm their knowledge of reading assignments. Maybe in other classes you have to write a summary on a book or a chapter that you've read. Understanding how to write a summary is going to really help you write in a sense where it's going to be concise, it's going to be to the point, and it's going to give the reader what they need to know. So in writing a summary, follow these general guidelines and keep these in mind for your executive summary. Present the goal or purpose of the document being summarized. Why was it written? Understanding that question is important because it will give the reader an idea of why it was written. Highlight the research methods, if appropriate, such as the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Omit illustrations, examples, and references. You don't want to put a chart in a summary because they take up a lot of room. People are going to have to skip back and forth from the summary, then looking at the chart. Just keep it really wordy. Organize for readability by including headings and bulleted points. So what this means in this case is that when you're writing a summary, you want to make sure you have headers for each section, so that way the reader knows what each section entails. And of course, include your reactions or an overall evaluation of the document only if asked to do so. You don't want to write it in first person where you're giving your opinion unless your boss asks you to do so. And for your executive summary assignment, you need to make sure to read the directions. But again, we'll be going over that next week. So an executive summary, it summarizes a long report, proposal, or business plan. It concentrates on what management needs to know from a longer report. So how to prepare an executive summary is covered in Chapter 13 on preparing formal proposals, which we're going to talk about right now. But an executive summary, it summarizes a long report. It's important you keep that in mind, summarizing a long report. I'll give you a good example. When I was working at the .com as a marketing manager, and each month I would have to create a marketing report. And these reports would take me about a week to create. They were probably about 60 to 70 pages long. And then I would have to write an executive summary on those reports. So in this case, I would have maybe anywhere from 50 to 100 pages of a report, and I would have an executive summary towards the beginning of the report. Whenever I would give it to our CEO in our meeting, he would take about 30 seconds, read the executive summary, and tell me if he approves or disapproves. So without even reading all the details or anything else I put into the report of my 50 to 100 page report, he did not care about anything except the executive summary. So depending on your supervisor, your boss, or coworker, the executive summary may be the point of how they're able to depict what kind of information is in the report. So let's go ahead and take a look at Chapter 13. And again, there are no weekly activities to complete this week, nothing to turn in. Just please make sure you complete your MindTap homework. That is the only thing that's going to be due. So let's look at Chapter 13. So preparing formal reports. And these are the components of your formal report that your book discusses. You have the copy of the RFP, which is a request for proposal. You have a letter of transmittal, an abstract, or an executive summary. So this is where the executive summary is going to be. And then a title page, table of contents, list of illustrations, appendix or appendices, and works cited or references. So looking at the executive summary, this is an important part. The abstract and executive summary are very similar, except an executive summary will go into a little bit more detail. And this is why you've been practicing your business writing, being concise and being to the point, because executive summary will help you, your writing that you've learned will help you write an executive summary. So whenever you're writing formal business reports, this is what you need to have. You need to have a cover, a title page, a letter or memo of transmittal, a table of contents, list of illustrations, an executive summary, intro, body, conclusions, recommendations, and appendix. So you can see there's a lot that goes into a report. Luckily, your group project isn't going to have a report in this kind of detail, but to give you an idea, this is what a formal business report will look like. It could be altered, maybe there, maybe recommendations, maybe the recommendations aren't needed, or maybe there's, no cover, title page, that's fine, but it's really on how the company goes by it. So the best way to prepare an executive summary, look for strategic words and sentences. So when you have a long report, what are things that stick out that you feel the reader needs to know about? So for your executive summary assignment next week, you're going to have to take a lot of information and condense it into one page. So when you're reading the information that you need to read, the best thing to do is to highlight the important facts. That way I'm going to include this in the executive summary, I'm going to include this, and you have a better idea as you're reading the report. Prepare an outline with headings. It's always good to have an outline prepared on your Word document so you know what you want to write about. Fill in your outline, then start writing what it is that you want to write for each section. Again, always begin with the purpose. What is the purpose of this executive summary? What is it going to entail? It has to be direct. That's something I'm going to be looking for. It needs to be written in a direct approach. And of course, follow the report sequence. In this case, you don't need to worry about it because you're only talking about the executive summary. And then eliminate non-essential details. Are there things in there that maybe aren't necessary? If so, get rid of them. And again, control the length. Executive summary should be about 1 page max, and that's what your assignment's going to entail as well. So in your book, it shows this example of an executive summary in 13-4A. So you can see what it talks about. It opens directly with major research findings right here. Then it identifies data sources. And then down here, it summarizes the organization of the report. It bolds each bullet point so you have an understanding of what each bullet point entails. And it condenses recommendations if asked to do so. So you can see what an executive summary looks like. So keep in mind, next week we're going to be going over your executive summary assignment during week 12. So make sure you have a good understanding of chapter 12 and 13 so you're well prepared to complete your executive summary assignment next week. So I hope you enjoyed this week without completing any weekly activities or quizzes. The only thing you need to worry about is your MindTap homework. Get caught up if you are behind on anything, and please take advantage of this week to maybe try to meet with your group. I wish you guys all the best of luck. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever. You can reach me on my cell phone or even by email. Thank you guys and good luck.